Yeah. All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get going here. All right. U.S. stocks actually did have a slight pullback yesterday, same sort of thing. Very light volume, small pullback. Actually just enjoying their vacations right now in the Hamptons, Nantucket, and so they just, the volumes you can see have just been really light. The S&P has really been on a drift, even though we've been in the middle of earnings season, which is a bit of a surprise. We did have numbers yesterday that pending home sales numbers, and they were beat, but we had a miss on the Dallas Fed manufacturing numbers. Neither one of them really got the markets moving too hard in either direction. But I think the fact that we're just kind of drifting around right now and we're not able to get any sort of substantial pullbacks just tells you the type of market cycle that we're in at the moment. Very bullish, outperforming, on even inline expectations. We saw in Asia, we finally had a nice night out of Asia after 2 days of real weakness there. We had Prime Minister Abe, which pushed through reforms for the BOJ to kind of help beat deflation. You see a little bit of weakness in the yen this morning, but I think just the underperformance on the Asian markets over the last few sessions just gave this thing an opportunity to rally kind of almost for no reason. So. All right, we have a lot of stocks reported out this morning. On the local front, we had ABSA, which came in quite weaker than expected on headline earnings per share at 6 Rand 50. The expectation was for 7 Rand 13. Net income was at 4.47 billion. Expectation was for 5.16 billion. So those are quite big misses there. Dividend per share came in at 350 versus expectation of 357. So that's a touch light, but then they did issue a special divvy of 708. So I think obviously the market was expecting the special divvy. We kind of heard rumors out of that. I think they did that to help their parent unit in Barclays. And then they have a comment saying that they're expecting mid-single-digit loan growth this year, which I think is also probably nothing significant or nothing that's going to get the market excited, I should say. We also had some other earnings out of Europe, especially in the banking side, with Deutsche Bank, which missed expectations, came in at about half expectations at 334 million euros versus expectations of 767. We had Santander that came in at 1.05 billion euros. Expectation was for 1.1. We had Barclays that came at pre-tax profit of 3.59 billion pounds versus expectation of 4.34. And then we had BP, which was out earlier in the UK, that was also light at 2.7 versus 3.4. And then we've got a couple of pharmaceuticals out this afternoon in the States. I find it quite interesting that we had all these earnings misses this morning in Europe, and the fact that looking at European futures, looking at the DAX, looking at the FTSE, they're actually just continuing to push higher. They're trading very, very well early on in the session. So we'll have to play the trade action and not necessarily the earnings most likely today, boys. But I think nonetheless the negative earnings out of ABSA are probably going to weigh on our local banking sector today. So just be ready for that. All right, first thing we'll have a look at here is copper chart. We're kind of below this recent range here. If you take us from a closing basis, we really have broken below support on a closing basis. This morning we're trading at around 309.50 on the copper price. So we've dropped down below this 310, but we definitely dropped support on this little upward sloping wedge. I mean, this pattern really failed at resistance back at around 320 a few sessions back. And if you look back, even going back to the internet connection just dropped. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We got back going here. So you can see what happened. We've dropped support here now in the copper price on the short term, and if you look out long term here, we'll go all the way out to a 5-year chart. You can see how significant wrong button. You can see how significant the sort of level is down here around around $3 an ounce. So I think that's kind of a really, really important level for us to hold in copper. I think if we drop $3, things could get a little bit ugly here. And the reason why I think it's important and worth watching is because, you saw guys like Barclays yesterday, which talked about the copper price potentially falling, I think up to 40%. In the near term, if China's growth slows down to as little as 3%. So this is really important, this $3 level. So watch it closely. I think we will come down and test it at least, and we got to see if it holds. But this could put significant pressure on some of the diversified miners here. All right, next one we'll have a look at Naspers. I actually look at it at a 30-day. Yesterday we kind of thought that the action the day before was incredibly bearish and that this thing could kind of make a turn to the downside. We were quite wrong about that. Obviously, you could see quite early on the way that the guy jammed about 300,000 shares in the market in the first 35-40 minutes. You knew he was kind of going to be there to stay. And you can see here the little green dot there is where we close at 8:03. And this time that we spent above is the only time we spent above 800. That was on the open 2 sessions ago, or on Friday, sorry. And we literally only stayed up there for about the first half an hour. Failed it, never could get back above it. So the fact that we've managed to push up against it all day yesterday and then have a nice close above it, it's really important. I think this thing can go higher, like we talked about before. Initial targets I would take maybe from this little 770 range to the breakout at 800, project us up to about 830 in the near term on Naspers. So watch for that to continue to move higher today potentially. All right. We'll look at Vodacom here. You can see here on a 30-day we've really flagged. It's starting to move higher. I would say that if you look at this in a little bit longer term chart, we have a very significant level at 117 Rand, which you can see right there. You can see how many times we bottomed out there and how many times we topped out there. And this is going to be our level that we're going to look at for resistance, $117. If we get through 117 and Vodacom, I think being a short, you got to be out. This thing's looking quite ominous, though. To be honest, we made a nice bull flag here off of this upward move after we broke through trendline resistance, and we've just flagged on top of that breakout, which is very bullish. So right now things are looking a little bit ominous on the shorts on Vodacom. I think through 117, if you're short, you got to be out, and if you're not involved, maybe a buy above 117 is a good play. All right, let's have a look at breweries. We'll jump back into a 30-day. I'm actually showing the London chart here just for effect because it's a little bit, the price action's a little bit better without the rand in it. And you can see here on the breakdown after the trading statement, it's setting up into a beautiful bear flag. It's kind of the inverse pattern of what we just saw out of Vodacom. Where we really break down below the support here, and we kind of come into a flag. Typically, when you move into a flag pattern off of a hard move in one direction like that, you usually break out in the same direction. So this is definitely setting up to be a bearish pattern, and could really project us down for about another 60 or 70 cents. or 60 or 70p, which is obviously significant in rand terms, about another $10. So watch this closely. I think a drop below, call it 31.20. I would think that, and definitely a drop below 31.10. 31.10, I think you got to, and especially in the short term, you got to play short SA Breweries if you can drop 31.10 and P. All right, let's look at Amplats. Amplats on the 1-year chart. You can see here we're kind of coming up on resistance in terms of lateral resistance. If you also look here, we'll just draw from the wicks on this one just for continuity purposes. You can see here how these really come in line. I can just lengthen that out a touch and get it right there. They really come in line there around that 360 level and Amplats. I think this is definitely, to me, would be the first pit stop for us at least to have a pullback off of. In my mind, especially charts that have looked quite bearish like this and that have significant upward reversals like this. Getting to 360 would be about a about a 30% bounce, maybe a touch more. In a straight line, and especially a lot of that's come right from here in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions. If it got there today, it'd be 7 sessions that you're really moving 60 rand on a $30 stock. That's 20% in 6 sessions. You would think that the first test of that level, we would have a little bit of a pullback. So watch this one closely. If we get up and contest 360, I think you may see a little bit of profit taking for some of the guys that have got on this bounce in Amplats. All right, BTI. BTI, this chart looks a little bit more bullish here than it does in London, but we'll have a look at it anyway. Really flagging here on this pattern, which has been obviously a longer-term bullish pattern, and starting to tighten up here in this range. But I would say a breakout of about 5.25. Could take us to higher levels in BTI over the next few sessions. And the last one I'll show is Associated British Foods in London, which also same sort of thing. Moved up to a nice little flag pattern here over the past 2-3 weeks. You can see there we've just managed to break out of that as of yesterday, and I would say that we could move up another 40 or 50p from here over the next day or two. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.